For us, every day is a new opportunity to make sure our first impressions are always our best and to see possibilities on the horizon, to make our facilities and services more accessible and find freedom all around us, with a location proximity to active markets, with a liberal air transportation policy. That daily pursuit is how we turn everyday opportunities for you. For all destination marketing support, customized packages for new existing airlines and operators, and for a highly ranked tourist destination, the Gambia Civil Aviation Authority is here to serve. We regulate air transport, operate and manage BIA technical requirements merged with commercial considerations. We have experienced and well-trained aviation professionals to cater for your needs. For investment opportunities in building airport hotels, shopping malls, playground for children, do contact us on 4472-831, 4472-893. Gambia Civil Aviation Authority. We go beyond daily.
Stewart & Co. Solicitors, a legal excellence firm in London that can help you with all aspects of your legal work. If you are looking at immigrating to the United Kingdom, Stewart & Co. can help you to set up business, buy houses in the UK, and will deal with all your legal works from start to finish.
For all your general immigration work, we can help you with that as well. If you're applying for any form of visa, whether student visas, settlement visas, marriage visas, or a child wanting to come to the United Kingdom to settle with the family, we can help you to achieve your goals.
Stewart & Co. Solicitors, a legal excellence firm specializing in conveyancing, immigration, litigation, family law, personal injury, licensing, no win, no fee. Contact us today at www.sk-solicitors.com.
And do small or big projects with the same dedication and commitment as we do. With a reputation as the leading printing company in the country, when it comes to major projects and innovative solutions, we always deliver in high quality, thus receiving the trust and confidence of our clients. From the moment your order is placed to when it is delivered, we believe in exceeding expectations from the sales manager to the production team, the account manager, and the person delivering your material. We have state-of-the-art equipment and a highly experienced and competent workforce that enables us to deliver top-quality work on time. At reasonable prices, we provide our clients with multiple solutions right from conceptualizing, designing, printing, binding, publishing, and distribution. For all your printing requirements, we are strategically located at the Sankumsila Highway, the Gambia Printing and Publishing Corporation. We print what you desire.
Introducing Gamtel Corporate Internet for home use. Sihu, everyone at home can be online at the same time and for less than you think.
Now daddy can be home early and mommy and dad with the family can all have fun together.
You can now complete your work at home with our stable, secured and super fast home broadband fixed wireless internet.
Home internet couldn't be faster.
Download, stream videos, research, play games, learn online and work from the comfort of your home.
You can do with the internet.
Join Gamtel Sihu today and enjoy the fastest home wireless broadband internet at an affordable monthly subscription.
Gamtel, creating a brighter future in communications.
Hello and welcome to another edition of KERR FATOU. Tey ñu am mbégte lool fii ci suñu studio bi. For the first time, we have the mayor of KMC. Actually, he has been running away from us from campaign time up to now. So I have to make sure my audience know that we have been running to get Lord Mayor Talib Bensouda on our show. It's a great pleasure to have him on the show today, Sadio.
Absolutely, it's great to have the Lord Mayor of KMC here in our studios. He's been running away from us, but we cover all his events, so I don't understand that. I guess we're going to stop after this interview. But yes, of course, the local government systems play a crucial role in the transformation of the standard of living of the people. When you look at it, his office is basically physically closer to the people than central government.
Yeah.
So I think that's absolutely important, and I think this is one way for the people, or for his office, to ensure that government policies are transformed into services that will benefit the need of the people. So it's absolutely important. You have a very big job to do.
A big job indeed. Only Lord Mayor Talib Bensouda.
As you would have said, it's a great pleasure to have him here, and him being a youth, and I mean that was definitely a great, I would say, achievement, especially for the younger generation. And then because he came out and people are like, oh, okay, Talib, wow. At first it was like, he's young, can he really deliver?
Yeah.
Would he make a change? KMC jahasona de, Talib halal la de.
Yeah.
But then again, and then we've seen how he has actually transformed himself. Even he has grown, he's matured in the position as well. And Lolo, definitely, we are all really proud of him as a young person, and then holding that high position, as Saja has said. He's closer to the people than central government. So having him here for the first time, we're all excited, and let's see how the story will unfold.
We're excited, but Lord Mayor, welcome to KERR FATOU first and foremost.
Thank you.
Coming up on KERR FATOU.
In communication, connectivity is everything. We ensure that the links never sleep. Quantities and qualities, all in our data service, providing efficient, reliable voice and data service. We believe if you're not up to speed, then you're going backwards. Communications have to flow as fast as the speed of light. Whatever business you're in, having someone who understands your needs is critical. That is why we just don't offer you technology, we offer you solutions. Enjoy Gamcel's internet broadband anytime, anywhere. Your national operator, Gamcel, Yaibaram.
We want to start with his background. Very young, like you said, but of course you were a businessman, and then into politics. What really inspired you to become a politician? Because actually, politics not Ahmad is there.
Well, okay, I'd like to thank you for welcoming me on the show, Fatou, Sajo, and Umi.
Yeah.
And I've not been running away from you. But equally, I'm more than happy to talk about the municipality. But your first question is about why I got into politics.
Yeah.
Well, I would say I was always interested in politics. I came from a political family. As you know, my parents were in the government when I was very young. My mom was the Solicitor General at the time. My father was a permanent secretary at Finance and later at State House. So of course, there was always political talk at our house when we were very young. Many characters we even see to date, people like Majanko Samusa, at the time, the late Abu Dentin, Ibu Janj, the IGP of police. They used to make my house a base where they would talk about politics for all evening long. So I always had an interest. I always overheard them talking. And growing up, of course, I got interested more and more. And then I went to studies. And in 2011, I came back to work and live in the Gambia. And of course, when I came back, we found the regime of Yahya Jammeh firmly gripping the country. And as a youth, when you come back to a country, you want to have hope. You want to see your country develop. You want to see a vibrant economy similar to what we see in the Western world. So I started working in an insurance company. Then I started a business. And of course, there was constant complaints about the oppression, the lack of freedom, the lack of ability to progress in our view. So 2016, we felt like it was a do or die situation. I said to myself, if Jammeh wins, I would actually leave the country because I would lose hope. So we decided to make the final push, and then we were all hoping for a coalition government to be formed, or coalition candidacy. And when President Adama Barrow, His Excellency, was chosen, we were even more enthusiastic. We helped campaign for him. He won. And then the former president said, no, I will not accept the result. And this, I think, got us more into the politics because we felt we had to fight for our lives. So people like Salih Tal started, Gambia has decided, with Rafi Diab, Momar Tal, and Momar himself, the day before they were forming it at Khalifa Fall's office, they invited me and I joined their first meeting. So we decided to band together, raise funding. And then that started, I guess, my journey into politics. So when the president then, we visited him in Carabao Hotel, myself, Asta Jub and Salih Tal, to offer him T-shirts and offer our support. I just felt like after he came back and was inaugurated, I could no longer sit on the sidelines. I wanted to participate. So I decided to run for MP of Serekunda West. But when I went to the UDP, they told me I was a little late because they had Ahmad Cisse, who was already a candidate. I think he was competing with Yakumba at the time. So I decided to just help them and just see how I could support the party on the sidelines. But then I was convinced by the late Kutubo Mane and even Rohi Malik Low at the time to run for mayor. So it was Rohim Malik Low, Alkali Conte, Kutubo Mane at the time who convinced me to run for mayor. This was at Rohi Low's house. So they looked at my business background and they said they think I would do well. And given that I had similar experiences with a municipality in Canada called Mississauga City Council, where I worked in partnership with their recycling department. So I tried my luck, and I guess I am here now.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so but then why the UDP? Was it because they were the biggest party and then you said, I need to win, and if I have to win, I have to join the UDP? Because a lot of people didn't know maybe you're a UDP or not and expected you to be an independent candidate than joining the UDP. So people believe, what would you say to the belief that you joined the UDP so that you would win, but you are not 100% UDP?
No, I would say I was 100% UDP. I voted in my first election in 2011. So as you know, I'm very young. I'm just 32 years old. When I was leaving, I was not old enough to vote. When I came back in 2010, my first election was 2011. Through my family has always been supporting UDP. We were a PPP family, and those who know the history, we later became UDP supporters. So I voted for UDP at the time. We wanted an alternative. We wanted change. And UDP is the most democratic party as far as we are concerned, my family and myself. So it was a natural choice because I was always a supporter of the party. But like I said, I was very young. I was never really very active in politics till 2016. So when it came to the primaries, UDP actually was the hardest party to be the candidate for. So I would have had easier luck if I ran as an independent or even for another party. So it just shows you how much I love my party.
But the winning tendency would have been very low.
Well, just think about it this way. My chances of winning the primary and being the candidate were less than 5%.
But was it true that it caused some sort of division within the UDP themselves? Because some people were like, who is this guy? He came out of nowhere and now we are selecting him to be the mayor. Was that true?
No, I think all of us were relatively not popular characters or famous characters. All the candidates.
They were in the UDP?
Within or outside the UDP. All of us were new in politics.
They were, most of them,
But then
all
they
of
were
us.
well known more than you were, everything.
Well, it depends who you ask.
It depends who you ask.
It depends its circles. But none of us were ever participating in politics. We were all first-time politicians. And I would say I was the least likely to win because I was the youngest.
Did you believe that your family influence played a lot in getting you a nomination for the UDP? A lot of people said, your family was more of UDP. Your mom was very, is one of the biggest patron of UDP. This was how people labeled you. Would you agree to that? During the campaign,
let's just put it this way. The party leader had favorite candidates in Serakunda West. Candidates he introduced, they did not win. He had a favorite candidate for Bansang, he did not win. Nobody controls UDP. It's purely political. Actually, I visited him early, about a year and a half, about 1 year before the primary. And I said, I'm interested in being the candidacy. He said, go ask for it from the people. So I was the hardest campaigner. I started my campaign April of 2017. I started my campaign April 2017, 1 year before the primary election. I campaigned hard and long. Every day, I went to different kafus, different associations, different party leaders or party executives. And it was a battle till the very end. So I came out first, then Papa Njai followed, then Majidi Toure followed, then Mustafa Toure came out, then Buramanding and Badi Jaite also surfaced. But let's just say I came out 6 months even before Mustafa Toure surfaced. So I was campaigning already very hard, and it was still the bitter end.
Okay, hold on before we get to the Papanjai side. There's something absolutely interesting there, and I guess Fatou will delve on that. But let's talk about the Papanjai part later. But now I want to focus on your involvement in politics. So is Talib Bensouda's involvement in politics a one-off, or are we looking forward to you going into other offices? Because I've heard the rumors. I heard that he is being groomed to be the next candidate for the United Democratic Party.
This is gossip and is rumors. And I came into politics, like I said, to make a change. But I was voted in as a mayor for 1 term, and that's my only plan. I don't really think for very long term. I think about today, tomorrow, etc. All I plan for is my time in office, and what I hope to achieve is to leave a legacy. In politics, nothing is guaranteed. So you have to live day by day to a certain extent.
Is that something you will advise our African politicians? It doesn't seem like the case here.
My advice for all politicians, I even tell all my councillors all the time, we are occupants, temporary occupants of an office. And our importance only draws from the office we occupy. We've seen mayors leave. Nobody talks about them today. We've seen presidents leave. Their popularity has dwindled drastically. So you're only important for your time in office because people care about your decisions. So the important thing is to be remembered, because you will leave the office one day or the other. So you have to watch out for legacy. What will I leave behind? What will people say Talib left in KMC when somebody else came? So for example, I'm in KMC, all I hear is Lai Conte did this, Lai Conte did that. So that's a very good thing for Lai Conte. That's the only mayor people talk about. Anyway, the people around me, of good things he left behind. Sometimes even staff will be like, Mayor, this is the way Lai Conte used to do it. And I think there's a significance there. So this is what I intend to leave behind. People will say, this is what I did during my time. These are the changes I made. And I hope to get back to my private life, which is much more fun.
So are you trying to tell us you're just
a one-term mayor or 2 term?
I don't know. I think events dictate. If by the end of my term, I have achieved most of my manifesto, or 90%, and I don't feel the passion anymore, then of course I would let the office be occupied by somebody who's more passionate.
What happens if that manifesto isn't achieved? Like, what happens?
If my manifesto is not achieved and things are going well, I would probably want to see it through. And I would ask for a second term.
I mean, a lot of people described you as somebody who cut across during your campaign, because we have seen people who are not traditionally UDP supporters. They were on your team. We have seen politicians who are in a different, for example, the likes of Majanko, even rappers like G, who are very controversial. What is the bond that you have with people who are not even on your team?
Well, I think maybe my politics represents something new, something fresh, something people want to see. Being part of a party is not that you discriminate against others. It's that you have a point of view or an opinion about the way the country should be run. But it's not necessarily you're in a party because you're in some sort of tribe or cult, and where you don't want to mingle with others. Even in our general council, we do development politics, like I call it. UDP has a policy about being democratic. Even that's the policy I run in the council. All decisions are made via votes. I don't dictate how things should happen. Any resolution I read out, I ask all in favor say aye, all against say no. If somebody says no, we actually go to a physical vote. And this is every decision. So that's part of the democratic principles of the party, is that all decisions should be made collectively. If I, as mayor, have a very strong point of view about something, I usually have the last word before the vote. So then I will tell them, this is the thing I think we should do because of so-so reason. 90% of the time I convince the councillors. Sometimes I don't. And I have to live with that. So.
And then I'll just agree with you because of what you said. It's a different politics.
Yeah.
We're used to seeing the over 40s, over 50s in politics. So you coming in, I was able to relate with you.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of people were able to relate with you. And then it just actually somehow changed the political landscape, because I sat at home and I said, Talib. You know, and then actually that even motivated
even I
me
said
to go
that.
out. Yes. So I mean, you definitely changed the political landscape, to be honest. Yeah.
And then, we'll talk about the process of the nomination.
Yeah, of course.
We cannot have this interview without talking about it.
Yeah.
I mean, during the process, though, Papanjai, who actually came out second, opted out to say he felt like the process was not transparent. And then a lot of people said, like I said earlier, you were handpicked by the executive. But then, did you really think the process was 100% hitch-free? It was democratic? It was not like, okay, this is the person we want, and then you were imposed on the people? How was the process?
It's impossible to rig the process, because it was done, UDP is the most structured party. This is also something I have to add. Every constituency has a constituency executive. Every ward has a ward executive. The constituency executives traditionally used to pick the MP candidates. The ward executives used to handpick their own councillors. But with the mayoral, because the party never had a sort of a mayoral candidacy, the people were interested in. In the past, we only had Master Danso, who was the sole interested candidate. So for the first time, you have 6, 7 candidates interested. So the party was a little confused about what to do, because then the regional executive would find it difficult to just handpick a candidate, because you have wards that are interested, you have constituencies that are interested. So that's when our administrative secretary, Alaji S. Dabo, Honorable, came up with the idea of a primary. And by then, Alkali Konde was on the executive. So I understand he was the one who also advocated very hard for primary. So the executive voted on the decision on whether to have a primary or not. And then the decision was that a primary must be held. So then they started figuring out how would they structure such a primary. So like I said, these things are not easy, they are not straightforward. They ended up with a system where every constituency should pick 20 delegates. In KMC we have 7 constituencies. That's how they came up with 140 delegates. So the delegates were secret till the very last minute, and then the party was confused, something was happening, there was candidates arguing on dates, etc. Then they pushed the primary for almost 2 weeks. And it became very frustrating for all the candidates. I myself did not know whether I was doing well or not until the first round. We were all given an opportunity, 5 minutes, to address the delegates. And I realized that I had to give it my best shot, because I was already hearing a lot of rumors that I had no chance. So I went for people's hearts. I don't know if you saw that video. But pretty much I spoke very passionately about the need for change and voting for somebody you believe in, rather than voting for somebody because of you're in the same tribe or they're your brother or you know them, etc. And after, many delegates confessed that they had changed their vote because of my pitch. After the first round, when I heard I had, I think it was 58 votes out of 140.
Out of 140.
Yes, I think they disqualified some votes because of absentees. But it was 58 Anyway, no, 68 out of 40.
40.
Yes, because I remember the other candidates combined had 2 more votes than myself.
Wow.
So this was 68 out of
140,
140 in the first round. But in the second round, I was scared because I was thinking Majidi Toure and Mustafa Toure were brothers, and they came in second and third. Their supporters might come together against me. But guess what? In the second round, I went to 88 plus votes. And Mustafa, I had more votes of Majidi's people than Mustafa Toure.
And it was claimed that you had the list of the delegates well before the voting.
Well, these are all claims. Like I said, there was a lot of, you know, politics is not easy and it's a dirty game. There was a lot of accusations flying around. People would tell me that the other camps were doing very malicious things against me. They were bribing. So there's always rumors flying around. So you never really know till the noise goes down and then the election actually takes place. So there's a saying that when the tide is high, you don't know who's naked.
That's right. Politics is a very dirty game, like you said. And whilst we sit here and do this interview, I pay attention to a few of the things that he keeps re-echoing, which is tribal politics. And I think this is something that is absolutely important. I mean, I listened to a video from, well, like you said, UDP, now politician, La Legi. It was a rally, or I don't know, but there was a gathering. And then he said that we think political parties should be open to all and sundry.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. How significant is it for Gambians to disassociate themselves from tribal politics? Because I think this is something that is really, really important that we need to talk about. Don't join political parties because you think you are with the same tribe with them and stuff like that.
And it is the norm now.
Absolutely. But it's not an issue of today. It's a historical problem.
It's been ongoing.
It's because when parties form, they should know why they are forming in the first place. Because your views should be what unite you, or your vision, and not your tribe or your cult or whatnot. So that's what I was advocating for in the Bundung rally. I was calling for all our militants to accept diversity, to be more open to people joining our party. And if this was not our party principles, then I would not voice it out. But these are our party principles. Sometimes our party leader, I guess, gets drowned out by the noise. But if you pay attention, this is what he advocates for all the time. In our Birkama rally, he went as far as telling our militants, respect all other parties, including APRC, DOI, etc. Because people only join parties when they love their country. So the only reason they're in a different party other than ours is they have different views. So we try to advocate for this. We try for people to understand why they're in the UDP. I think this is sometimes what's missing in all parties. But we are trying to do a better job internally. And in my Bakote rally, I actually asked the party leader to finish his yellow book. So this yellow book is a book where the UDP has policies on youth programs, policies on agriculture, policies on the economy, etc. So for example, if you say you're a Democrat in the United States, we know you're liberal. We know you're pro-birth. You agree to contraception. We know you're pro-immigration. You know, you believe in some element of socialism. But if you're a Republican, you're conservative. You are pro-birth. You believe, you know, it's beliefs. So you have to form parties based on beliefs, and then there will be less problems because
and
it's
then
not,
many
it's not
people
personal.
refer to UDP as a Republican Party. How do you respond to
How
that?
do you respond to
I
that?
see that on social
I see
media
that
all
on
the
social
time.
media.
No,
Yes.
UDP is actually a socialist party. If you even look at some of our international partnerships, it's with other socialist party. It's a very democratic party in terms of how we believe affairs should be run. This is why everything is grassroots, and this is why sometimes it looks like our party leader is not totally in control, because he's not totally in control. He can influence decisions, but he doesn't make them for anybody. Since I even got into office, he's never called me and told me his opinions about how I run KMC. He just advised me when I was going in, treat all councillors the same, do development politics, ensure that you don't run it like a political bureau. These were his advices. And this is the same advices I give my councillors. So that's why sometimes you hear the APRC councillors on radio praising me. One went as far as saying that he believes I am more friends with the APRC than the UDP, and that caused some sort of controversy. But it's because this is the party leader's principles. Now, in a party as big as the UDP, of course, we are going to have militants who are a little bit extreme. We're going to have people who are going to be overly passionate.
Yes.
But this is something that doesn't represent the majority. Usually minorities make the loudest noise. The majority is very accepting, very calm. If UDP was tribalist, Lohe Malik Lo would not be our mayoral candidate. I will not be the mayor sitting right now. Our deputy party leader is Wolof. Our female president is Wolof. My deputy mayor is Fula. We have a Serial. We have 2 Sarahules. We have a Jola as a candidate. So UDP does not believe in these things. I think over the years of the Jammeh regime, he spent a lot of money branding the UDP.
Yeah.
And he controlled all the state media, etc. And UDP never had money. It's a grassroots movement. So people have branded our party leader, has branded the party in a very negative light, and it's very hard to remove that perception. So somebody like the party leader, when people say he's a tribalist, I cannot believe. Both his wives are Wolof. It's just incredible. And he always advocates for diversity all the time, almost all the time. So young people like myself, we are trying to change the image of the party. And we are trying to also change the image of politics in the Gambia. Just today, we launched the Mayor's Trophy to bring people together, to form bonds with other people. And I said, look, if you are a Barcelona fan, you don't ask what other person, what's their politics. You're a Barcelona fan, and that's all you care about.
Yeah.
And this is why we are using sports as a vehicle. And we respect other parties. I want diversity in our politics. I don't want UDP to dominate all aspects of life. We want to hear different views which will entrench our democracy.
I will take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about KMC. We will talk about the vision for KMC, the promises that he's made. Are they being kept?
Yes.
And definitely, what is going to be his legacy when he leaves office? So we'll take the first commercial break.
Coming up on KERR FATOU.
sam pap dee na déedéet daf ma yónni woon ma joué ko bii waaw yàlla def mu gagné jàppoon $100,000 la
la ilaha illallah
te yow xam nga ne sama papa dafa amee cardiaque
yow da ngaa dof yow xam nga luy $100,000
xam naa ko kay man naa lu ñëw bëggoon nga dimbali ci
demal na nga def damaa toog rek sama xel mi ne ci yow xam nga bërki démb li daal si benn waay fee waaw ma romb ko rek bërki démb waaw muy yuuxu di tëb ma ni kii lu ko dal ñu ne ma daal ci loto gaming Gambie bi la laal
jar na ko
laal na ci lu di
waaw nga dafa am quarté am kente am tiercé waaw maanaam nag tey jii kente bi la te jackpot bee passé xaalis
kente mooy lan
kente maanaam mooy juróomi fas yi
waaw beneen bi
am na quarté mooy ñeenti fas yi ak tiercé tey nag xaalis bi daa gën a yokk
lu tax
ndax jackpot bële dañ kaa tegaat ci bii maanaam juróomi fas yi boo ko jàppee ci ordre mooy risque nga désordre bi sax day fay bu ma ko jàppoon
yooyu moom noonu la demee da ngay dem rek jiyee
am na lu ma yaakaar
man gis naa seen kii yi keesku yu ndaw yi ci biir dëkk bi mais daal dama ni lii moom amul xaalis da nga ciy def sa xaalis te doo am
jël wecce rek sànni ko fa xool jëmbat la laa ilaha illallah yow li nga wax ni tey ji bu yàlla dogaloon ma gañe ko lu mu gàtt
fi mu toll nii boo gañe woon $100,000
waaw nu may def
waaw nooy def
xam nga yow sama xarit nga
waaw
damay fexe nga rey say noonu
ci nan
lu mu gàtt $50,000
waay
Thierno woowee l'ambulance
lan la lu xew ni
sa baay gay dee na
sama papa gay lu ko rey
$100,000 dalaa ne ko boo ma gàññaloon si li ma la yónni dama ko koy jox mu daanu ni sama kaw
man waxuma ko mu waxee woon la ko noonu yow la ko waroon informé ndax yow yaa ko gagné yaa gagné jàppoon
Hi, I'm Lamin Sise, Head of Sales and Marketing, EJ Investments.
And I'm Fatmata, Sales Supervisor, EJ Investments.
We are looking forward to seeing you at our stall at this year's trade fair.
And the good news is we have a 10% discount waiting for you for our Sanyang Seaview estate.
EJ Investments is at the GCCI Trade Fair, stall number 11 and 12.
See you guys.
EJ Investments, we have 10% discount at our Sanyang Seaview estate this year's trade fair.
Customer satisfaction is our pride.
See you guys at our stall at the Independence Stadium.
See you there.
EJ Investments, nyin trade fair, nga 10% discount also to na Sanyang Seaview estate or Independence Stadium or alna mol taraje.
EJ Investments. This year's trade fair, we have a 10% discount for you at our Sanyang Seaview estate. See you there.
EJ Investments, ñu ngi leen amal 10% discount ci suñu Sanyang Seaview estate bi ci trade fair bi. Fekka leen ñu ci stadium bi.
EJ Investment, imen jogi 10% discount ka Sanyang Seaview estate meng ilang habi ang ka stadium.
EJ Investments, we are first in property.
First in property.
fay lempo warugal la si képp koo xam ne doomi réew mi nga ak ñu fi dëkk bu fekkee ne ci at mi sa koom-koom weesu na $24,000 dalasi mbete weer bu nekk di nga am lu tollu si $2,000 dalasi lempo si la nguur gi di sukkandiku ngir liggéey yokkute réew mi GRA mooy banxaas bu nguuri Gambia sas ngir mu fayeku lépp luy lempo ci biir réew mi ba tax na GRA di yëgal faykati lempo yi ne warugal la pour ñu fay lu ñu naan withholding tax on contract payment maanaam bépp contract bu waay joxe te si biir réew mi lañu toog kon xaalis si contract bi ngeen nangotoo war nga cee wàññi ci xayma téeméer bu nekk fukka bu fekkee ne contracto bi dëkkut ci biir réew mi bu boobaa di nga war a wàññi téeméer bu nekk fukka ak juróom lii mooy lempo bu ñu naan withholding tax on contract payment lii mooy lempo bi nga xam ne yow mi joxe contract warugal la nga wëlbatiku dem fay ko ci maakaani GRA tax office bu la gën a jege mbete ci banque yi GRA jagleel pour fay lempo war ngaa jébal lempo bi si diiri fukki fan ak juróom gannaaw bi nga wàññee ci xaalis si contract bi amul benn contracto bu ñu teggil fay lempo bi xanaa mu fekk ne nguuri Gambia ñoo ko jégale boole si projet yi nga xam ne mbootaay ndimbali ñoo koy dépense GRA di fayeku lempo ngir yokkute réew mi.
Every young Gambian dreams of a university degree. He wants a good paying job after graduation, a pretty wife, and ultimately own a dream home.
What if I can't afford my desired dream home?
And that is why you need to visit Universal Properties.
We specialize in customer satisfaction. We listen to every of our clients' needs when we show the properties to our clients. Before you know it, you hear the client saying,
I like this house.
This is the room that cuts my heart.
And most of the time, they cling to the door, never to let go. Most clients want to close the deal right there. And that is why we always have their contracts in the trunk of our cars. We work at our client's pace. No haggle, no hassle.
We're waiting for you at our office in Kairaba Avenue here in the Gambia.
Have you run out of cash power? Do you want to transfer funds to your family? Or do you want salary advance without coming to the bank? Your banking services have just been brought to you on your mobile phone. Download and install from your App Store or Google Play Trust Bank's mobile app. Simply search for TBL mobile app and follow the instructions. You can access the following services: funds transfer, cash power purchase, forex rates enquiries, mobile airtime top-up, mini statement, balance enquiry. TBL app is the only app that allows you to take salary advance and many more. You can also interact with your customers using our USSD code by dialing *533#. At Trust Bank, we bring innovation that is useful to you, our valued customer. With our mobile app and USSD, banking is at your fingertips. Trust Bank Limited, proudly Gambian.
Make a difference and text CAR CAR to 900 to win a car with Gamcell. Gamcell and Rotary Club of Bruceby brings you a chance to win a brand new SUV Corando, the more you text, the more chances you win. Join Gamcell today for your chance to win a car, fridge freezers, televisions, smartphones, and lots of cash prizes. Draws will be held live on GRTS TV. Proceeds will be used to help the humanitarian activities of the Rotary Club of Bruceby in the Gambia. Every SMS costs $10. Your SMS could save someone's life. Join us and text CAR to 900 today. A brand new SUV Corando awaits you. Rotary, making a difference. Gamcell, Yai Borom.
Welcome back to part 2 of this interview. It's been really interesting talking about politics, but I think it's important now for us to talk about the KMC.
Sure.
He is the mayor of KMC, and during the campaign, a lot of people were interested in him because of the policies he was talking about. You know, the manifesto was rich. When we looked at it, it was like, whoa, this is interesting. But again, let's talk about the transition.
Yep.
Since you came to KMC, what did you find at KMC, and where are we at right now?
All right, yeah, so I had a 5-point manifesto, which started with restructuring of the KMC, meaning KMC as an institution, the staffs, the resources, financial management, and then, of course, the second was to look at the revenue. And of course, I am known for being the $1 billion man.
That's what we're going to
We'll come to that.
$7 billion.
Okay. So then we looked at environmental health management. Then we looked at youth employment, the economy. So in a nutshell, there were things we knew that, of course, when we came in, that's exactly what we found. The issue of lack of structures as far as their data is concerned. For example, if you look at properties in the KMC, their database is incomplete. If you look at what properties are valued, as well incomplete. So there's a lack of data generally. Of course, capacity is also a problem in KMC. Leakages are also a problem. But there was also things we do not know were happening. That there was lack of cohesion in the staff. There was a lot of infighting. Also that demoralized, demotivated, and we found people. On the outside they look bad, but on the inside you find people who feel like they are not treated well. If you see people who don't have the motivation to go out every day and do their work, and people who were not working towards any particular vision. So I think these were things that we found. So it was very tough, but we are glad to say the management now are working towards a vision, which is my vision of the municipality and the council's vision. And there's cohesion now, and there's more motivation, especially in our services department. The first thing I told the service director is, would you work in the same conditions as your cleaners are, without safety equipment, with bad pay, going in the gutters and dirty places, without being properly uniformed, with people saying bad things about them even though they're going into gutters and going into waste management. So we started putting a lot of effort into giving them the right tools, paying them better. And I think a month ago, one of our cleaners was emptying one of our new street bins which we installed, and one guy gave him a pat on the back and said, "You're truly now working, KMC, we are proud of you." And he was so happy, he told his services director. So that sense of pride we are bringing back. And we're using social media, we're using traditional media to boost the municipality's image, to be a trustworthy municipality or council. So for example, also when we came, we found that most vendors did not take credit from KMC. It was not a trusted institution by any measure. So we had to put in a lot of work to change those perceptions. Now we are even live streaming a general council meeting so people can have an inside view of their elected officials debating about their issues. So I think we're doing a good job in rebranding the council. Monetary-wise, of course, that's always a challenge, but we just finished hiring a team of GIS experts led by Dr. Malanding Jaite and Malik Njai of Sphinx Consulting, and World Bank GIS expert called Philip Ratator. And we've given them the mandate to address, map the municipality with street names, street addresses, value every property, and come up with a tax database. Because we found out that we have about 35,000 properties registered in our database. Only 5,000 are valued, meaning all of the rest are not paying the proper amount. And there's an extra 25,000 not even registered. So just when we had a consultant come in, he assessed that right now our total collectible rate is 77 million. But after we value every property and register the unregistered ones and value them, we can go up to 715 million. Wow. So it cannot be achieved without this exercise, which we are starting April 18th. April 18th, this month, we are calling a stakeholders conference. The total cost of the project is $46 million. We intend to raise the money via corporate sponsorship. How we intend to do that is that we found out that we need 15,000 plates to name all the streets. Yes. So we are selling ad space on the plates, $3,000 a piece, and that would give us 45 million. So this is going to be our first push before we go to the donors or think about budgeting ourselves. So there's a lot of effort being made. On a weekly basis, I do receive reports from every revenue manager, from licensed markets and debt, which is rates, and I watch the bank accounts. So when we came in, we found that the interim management committee led by Bakari Jammeh had taken the council from a deficit of minus 8 million or overdraft to, I think, 4 or 5 million when we came in. And at the end of 2018, we had about 42 million reserves in our accounts. So because I pay particular attention to what's coming in, almost daily I ask. So the managers are always up to the task because you know the mayor is always interested in what's going on. So I think that focus until we can boost our revenue is very important. So we would be able to actually do some things around the municipality.
So whose idea was it, whose idea was it to build a new office complex that cost about $23 million?
Yeah, so this is a Gumworks project. It's not just for KMC. It's for Birkama Area Council, Banjul City Council. If you go to all premises, you will see they equally have big structures. In KMC's case, it was $100 million, including 4 roads and the renovation of Bundung Maternity Ward and the construction of Latrikunda Market. Now, it was an idea, according to Gumworks, it was their idea. The councils agreed. However, they couldn't start because there's a counterpart contribution from all councils. So Bakari Jammeh made the first payments during his time in office.
As interim mayor? As
interim mayor.
Okay.
He did about 3 or 4 million, and then we completed with 6 million during our time. So our total contribution was about 10 million. So these are ongoing projects, and it's expected that even at the end of my term, if another mayor comes in, he would have to finish our commitments because it's not personalized, it's the institution.
Yeah. So now we come to the $1 million that during your manifesto you talked about.
The billion.
The billion, yes.
Yeah.
That, you talked about how it's achievable.
It's
so
achievable.
Now, what we want to know, and I guess what everybody wants to know, how much have we achieved so far, and what mechanism do you have in place to ensure that this will be achieved? And also, is there any innovative technologies that the council has created where you guys would collect taxes and it can be tracked?
Yeah, so I think you're the first person to actually quote me like I said it. People say Bensouda promised $1 billion, but you've said it. What I said is that it is achievable, and things need to be done to achieve it, and that's exactly what I said we are doing with the addresses and stuff. So property taxes is the biggest chunk of our revenue base. If all properties were paying the right rates, most of these problems with roads, etc., will not be an issue. The issue we face is even with people we invoice, they don't want to pay.
So how much have you collected so far?
Well, let me just put it this way. KMC's revenue in 2017 was 120 million. We came halfway into 2018. We came in around end of May. And last year's revenue was about 143 million, 2018. And this is the added pressure that they face. Because we always have debts. Right now, as we speak, we have debts of 300 million of people who have not paid their rates. You would have paid attention 2 or 3 weeks ago, the Alcalo of Bakau was asking for people of Bakau to pay their 20 million arrears. So this is the story for all 19 wards. So the total arrears we have right now is 300 million.
So is it achievable or not?
It is achievable, but like I said, we are making the necessary investments now. Unfortunately, politicians, our life in office is not too long. That's why we always have to think legacy. We always have to think about building the foundation so another guy can come and finish up. But if we think about only our time in office, we start doing politically popular things that don't necessarily translate to the daily lives of people or are not meaningful. Meaning as soon as you leave office, it disappears. So with this project we're doing, GIS mapping and addressing, it will not only solve the tax issue, but imagine, Omi, you can use your GPS. Imagine if you had a food delivery business. Imagine if you were in the banking sector or utilities or emergency services. You could know where people are. Today, if you had a fire in your house and you call the fire service, you couldn't tell them your address. It's a life or death situation. So these are the fundamentals that can transform a country. Yeah. And in Africa, we tend to skip the fundamental things.
It's important for zoning as well. It helps a lot.
Everything. It would transform the municipality. So what happens in African countries is that we skip the fundamental things and want to go to the finished product. But you can't. You can't build a country without foundations. So we have to take the painstaking exercise, which is not politically popular because people cannot probably physically see what a mapping or addressing looks like. Okay, fine, it's plates and house numbers. But we know that it would transform the banking sector, for example. If you transfer money, your corresponding bank says, where does Fatou live? You couldn't tell them, that could delay the transaction. Yeah. So we are facing a lot of economic issues because of a lack of this. And like I said, April 18, we are having the stakeholders conference. On other initiatives, you want me to talk?
I want to come in there. The biggest challenge KMC faced has been a 30-year-old problem, the dump site.
Yes.
And when you came in, you made big promises to help solve that problem. Where are you right now? The people of Bakote are really complaining.
Let me take you back to my last rally in buffer zone. I said, I cannot promise that I will change everything. Yeah. But I will promise to do my best every day. I don't know if you remember that. But that is something we are doing on Bakote dump site. Yeah. We believe, we 100% believe by 2020 we will solve it.
I think the issue of the dump site requires like a holistic approach to it. Yeah. Because
so we believe we will solve the dump site problem.
What processes have been taken right now?
Now, let me put it this way. When we came in, Bakote is of course always the #1 concern. So the dump site is a time bomb, especially for riots or some sort of crisis. So we pay particular attention to it. So one of the first things I did was the youths that are involved in the area, who care about the environment. We have one in the name of KERR FATOU. He's an environmentalist, president of Green Up Gambia, and he's a resident of Bakote. So I co-opted him into our environment committee. So we always get first-hand information about what's happening on the site. That was something that was smart, because since then the site has been properly dressed, and we always solve any issues before they become a crisis. So that's just temporary short-term management, so things don't go out of hand. The other thing was late last year a child died on the site, because if you know the site very well, you know that the fence is porous, and you know there's a community that is at the backyard, uses the site as a shortcut, and also goes in there to get scraps, etc. Sometimes children go in there to play, and unfortunately this child lost his life. So we did not have the resources to secure the perimeter, but we did budget for it in this 2019, and it's going on tender as we speak. Another temporary measure. Now long term, what we are looking at is waste processing. We did get issued a land in Sanyang to dump, but we refused and said we cannot just transfer the problem to somebody else's backyard. We have to fix this. So with Birkama and Banjul, the mayoress and the chairman of Birkama made me the chairperson of the intermunicipal committee of the Greater Banjul area. And our main target is how do we coordinate and solve this waste processing issue. So the first thing I did was get UNDP funding for a feasibility study, which is ongoing right now. It's been awarded. And that would tell us what direction to go. But still we are working side by side with them, and we are also entertaining proposals. And the latest one we got, we've got hundreds, by the way, but the latest seems promising. It's from a Finnish company called Woima Corporation, and we've managed to sign an MOU with NAWEC and an MOU with KMC, and this is for waste to energy. So what they are proposing is to have a 2.5 megawatt plant on Bakote that would use up the waste that already exists there, and they believe they would have enough waste for 10 years. So if they were incinerating that waste in Bakote and creating energy, they could rely on that waste for 10 years. So then they would have another 2.5 megawatt plant at Sanyang, which would take fresh waste. So in total, it would be a 5 megawatt plant. Now, the only obstacle for this happening is to get an affordable price for NAWEC to sign, because it's a power purchase agreement. And waste to energy is traditionally a little bit more expensive than generators or solar or this car power ship they have. So we are thinking on KMC side, how do we bridge this gap? Yes, if there's a price difference between NAWEC and Woima, can we subsidize the difference and make it happen? Because there's a huge social impact on this. So we visited a few ministers, including local government. We've visited NAWEC themselves and energy, and they love the idea. And it's just a matter of time. Woima just left last week with the MOUs, and now we are looking at a waste feed agreement and also probably a technical and financial proposal before we look at PPA. And once we get the PPA, then we would all be very happy that something will happen soon. So we are doing everything we possibly can. Bakote is the one thing that gives me sleepless nights.
That's one part of the problem, but another issue is that the attitude of the people too. Because Gambians are so much used to throwing things on the roads and stuff like that. Has it ever occurred to come with policies to say that, okay, if you dump this here, then we charge you? We've seen countries like Singapore try the same thing, and it's definitely working.
I will come to your question if I can just conclude on the Bakote. So the Bakote issue here now, people think that the site just automatically catches fires, which is not true. It's burnt by people. So the last incident, the big fire that happened, was done by children. So if residents of Bakote would tell you throughout, since we came in office, this is the second such fire, which is actually less frequent than it used to be, because we were doing everything we could to control in and outs at the site. So this second one, although went out of proportion because the fire service could not come on time, the response has been terrific after they came, but initially it took them time and the fire just spread out of control. And it was a huge fire that went all the way to Banjulinding, the smoke. So just last night we caught somebody trying to light up another fire. Now the reason they do this is because they want to have access to precious metals that they could sell as recycled scrap. So this is the story I think people don't know. And it's a difficult situation until we fence this site. Then we will not have fires anymore. And the reason it takes so long to take off is, remember, it's a 17.3 hectare site, and the waste has been accumulating there for decades. It's 25 meters deep. So even when you take out the top, the fire is burning underneath, and there's gases that are trapped around. This is why Bakoteh is such a complex issue, and is something that is of a national concern, because if the leachage poisons the water table, it can go as far as 5 to 10 kilometers. And this is not just the vicinity of Bakoteh. We are talking Kololi, Kerseri, the radius. So this is a big concern. So we are doing everything we can, and we are hoping we get support from the central government to fast track it.
I want to come to the councils and central government.
Yeah.
Councils have not been independent over the years.
Yeah.
Is councils independent of the central government right now? And of course we know central government is supposed to pay some percentage to councils. Are you getting these payments? Because I remember during campaign period,
I think
some candidates just promised they are going to make sure they get these things from the central government, because it's something that is in the central government council is in the act. It's supposed to be paid. And of course, there are other taxes as well that GRA collects on behalf of councils.
Yeah.
These are monies that should be collected by councils to be able to help the residents. What is your municipality doing to make sure, number one, the relationship with government, central government, and are you getting all the dues, but also to make sure the tax that are being paid to central, to GRA are being collected by KMC, because obviously it's for the people?
It's a terrific question, but I fear once we start on that, she won't have a question answered.
Okay. So what you want to do? You want to answer how?
About littering.
Okay.
I can answer that. I can just start and then come
start
here.
And,
So with the littering question,
yeah.
Littering is a problem, but it's a problem in every country. Even last time I was in London, I was in a town called Little Ilford. And I just saw there was litter everywhere, and you wouldn't expect that in a place like London. So the response is what's important. So we have what we call a cleansing intervention unit that sometimes you see on the street cleaning after people. But also we are trying to teach people new habits by installing bins. So we've had a 500 bin initiative for 2019, and we've engage some youths who are using recycled tires. You know the whole story. Don't throw it, people. And we've also engaged other youths called Circle Logistics. They're making ones for the TDA, for the tourist destination area. Yeah. So I hear they're starting next week. So we're doing everything we can there. Also, we have all these donkey carts who are the ones responsible for the waste right now for most households. But it's donkeys, so they cannot make it to Bakoteh dump site or extremely long distances. So they're dumping around the riverine in Talinding and Ibo town, sometimes in canals, sometimes in empty houses, sometimes in the gutter. So that's a huge problem, but we are cleaning up after everybody. We've cleared so far 60 illegal dump sites since I came into office. And we also do Operation Clean the Drains, which we started next year, and we are starting this month. But we need enforcement. So we've got a new commissioner in February, police. We did not have one. And then we've budgeted to employ 100 new officers that are supposed to help with enforcement. We have a new magistrate in the name of Aissatou Dabo, highly effective, and she's helping guide us draft bylaws about anti-littering and so on. So it's like we're building from scratch in every different department. So hopefully towards the end of the year, we will get very far. Now, on the residential waste collection, which you're going to ask, we have ordered trucks, about 23, and we're expecting them end of this month. So we'll invite you to the inauguration ceremony. And this is called the Mbalit program that will now give waste collection to every household within the KM. So it's a partnership with the communities and Espas Motors through a PPP arrangement. And it's going to start as soon as the trucks arrive, and sometime in May. Now to decentralization. Decentralization is something we go crazy about when you talk. Our eyes go red. So it's very difficult situation because decentralization, I would call it somewhat sort of power struggle per se.
Yeah.
Because it's central government really is letting go of a lot of their powers. And giving those powers to councils. So when you listen to their narrative, they will tell you, well, councils don't have the capacity. But our side is, well, for us to have capacity, it should be the central government's intention.
To give us. Yeah.
They should have an intentional effort to capacitize councils, so councils can take up their role in society.
Yeah.
Because when you look at our act, it says we should run schools, we should run hospitals, we should build roads, we should pay for street lighting. In other countries, building permits. Even when you sell and buy properties, we should be the ones having the capital gains, etc., etc., etc. Functional councils around the world do so much that people don't even notice whether the central government is there or not. So when I visited Belgium, one of our sister cities in Massik, the mayor told me, look, our central government hasn't functioned for 2 years because of political problems. But the average Belgian citizen wouldn't notice because councils do everything. They run their cities, even housing, affordable housing.
Yeah.
So what we are saying to the central government, it's not about taking power from them. It's about councils being empowered to deliver services. Because like you rightly said at your beginning of your interview, we're closest to the people. Our response time is much faster. Accessibility for the people is much easier for councils. We don't have all those protocols. Our ward councillors live within their wards. So it's very easy for people to go to the ward council and say, look, this is our problem in our market. This is our problem here. This is our problem there. So the response time is much faster. And this is what brings about a good quality of life for your people. So we serving our people better is good for the central government. Because they can focus now on national programs, policies, regulation, etc., creating the environment for the economy to thrive. So they should focus on the macro economy or macro things and let us do the day-to-day market problems or housing problems, etc. So it starts with the law.
Yeah.
The Local Government Act was designed in a way to have power in the center. And given the president we had here, he wanted control. So there's been even actually many amendments made to reversing decentralization, to centralize the operations of government even more. So we are only saying, look, if you want local governments to function, you need to start enacting on the decentralization policy. First, let's say staff matters. Councils don't control their own staff.
That's what I was going to say. If the CEO is appointed by...
The CEO is appointed by what they call the Unified Local Government Service Commission. That's appointed by the minister. So if you had an issue with your staff, it would take a lot longer to resolve it. I talked about restructuring the council. After our report, we can't even restructure because now we need the permission of another body who might have different ideas. So if you don't have, councils only have two things: financial resources, human resources. And sometimes, or most times, the human resources determine how well you can get your financial resources. So arguably, the most important thing is controlled by central government. So there must be a deliberate policy to make us more autonomous. We don't want to say we want to run a totally independent. You cannot.
Have you guys made any approach?
We have made several approaches. We have engaged the minister many times. We have written to the president. We've written to the SG. We've written to the minister. We've written to the parliament. But now they're telling us to wait for the CRC.
Oh,
okay.
Until there's, which we don't think is necessary. We think there's some amendments that can be made. They have made amendments to the constitution that would make government work better. So why not amend some things in the local that would make us operate better until you can review the entire constitution. So any mayor you ask, any chairman you ask, we are all very impatient about this process. We all need it to happen as soon as possible so we can deliver to our people. Because there's not that understanding at the grassroots that the mayors and the councils are not as powerful as they are perceived. Well, we on the revenue side, you mentioned, well, let's start with the budget.
Yeah.
Government should subvent councils 25% of their development fund. Now, let's say council's income is 100.
Yeah.
According to our act, 60% should go towards development and 40% towards administrative expenses. Now, government should subvent us 25% of that 60%.
Yeah.
They haven't paid that since 2004. And I really believed that this would be the year of difference when we came in and we submitted our budget on time. We submitted our request for the subvention on time. We did it in September 30th, but they did not budget for it. So our ministry is telling us, be patient, because we don't want to go to court. It's not a good look, because it's the law. They have to abide by it. I even went to the MPs and said, look, it's the law. You cannot allow this budget to pass without seeing subventions for local government. But our ministry has told us that they are setting up the Financial Advisory Committee, which is in the act as well, and which will ensure next year we get it. So we'll say, okay, we'll be patient. But on other revenues, like you said, car park fees.
Car park fees, yeah.
They're collecting it. And before they used to share some of it with GRA, or with the police.
Yeah.
Yes, and now they're saying they'll give it to us all, but they still have to collect on our behalf. That also, I don't see much sense in it, but fine. GT, any area in the TDA, we are not allowed to collect licenses from it. And this
casinos and hotels. And
this happened when they set up GT board. So this has always been a problem. So our question is then, are we supposed to serve people in that area? In our municipality? Who's supposed to collect their waste? Who's supposed to build their roads? If you're collecting licenses, then are they still part of the municipality or not? So there's a lot of confusion that has been created by the former regime, and that's why this regime's task is system change. Is a huge task. Is how do we recalibrate the Gambian government to function or to serve the interests of the people? And I think that should be their immediate goal. Because a lot of things are not functioning very well because of bad laws or an incoherent system or knowing why local government exists. I think some of these things we need to understand it. We've adopted a Western system, but sometimes I think we don't fully understand it, and this is why we confuse things. So we need to go back and understand what sort of government we have. Is this something that we want in Gambia? Can we make it more can we sort of amend it so it can suit our own conditions?
Be careful, there's a bus and it's running very fast.
A bus?
Yes, there's a bus and there's a driver and it's running very fast. So
what bus is it?
People are jumping out.
I think people are being thrown out, I think.
Well, we are not on buses because we are
they are independent. They are not in the bus.
What the issue is, it's not about, like I said, it's not about individuals. I'm not blaming anybody. It's just something we inherited, something we found. But we need to look at how we can change. Because that's why we are voted into office. That's what we campaign for. We want to change things. So I think the ministry, when I talk about my ministry because we are not under central government. We are regulated by our line ministry. They are listening now. They are also coordinating. They are fighting side by side with us. In some cases, most cases I would say. And like I said, they've been asking for these subventions as we have. So they're the ones who are telling us, look, be patient. Next year we'll figure it out. It's not easy. I'm not saying this is easy things to change, but we must focus on the change. And this is how we can deliver. So decentralization, I believe, would change.
The way
this is direct impact. Where central government can do something major and not necessarily the average Joe would feel it. Councils is direct impact. Anything I do, every resident would feel it almost immediately. They would feel it in their lives. When the central government, for example, builds huge infrastructure projects, not everybody would benefit. Not everybody would see the difference in their lives. But if I start collecting waste in everybody's house, they would know. So that's why local government is so
crucial.
Important. And one thing I always advocate, I always tell my minister, if you support us, that's your credit. If you give us the tools we need, that's your credit. Because you created the environment. guess what? If I start doing very well as mayor and people are happy, they will not only be happy with me, they'll be happy with the president, they'll be happy with the central government. Because it's a sense that, a feeling that Gambia is moving.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean? But if their rubbish is not collected, they'd be mad at me, but guess what? They'd be mad at everybody else.
Yeah.
They would say this government is not working.
I want to come in something that you just talk about how people are affected. And there are a set of people who are not really happy right now. There's the people that work in the market. I remember there was this time, there have been a lot of thefts going on in our markets.
Yeah.
At one point, in fact, I walked into your office. I was going across, and I saw some people marching towards your office.
Yes.
I mean, the good response was when you came out to talk to them.
I saw you that day because you were looking right at me.
Yes, because I was driving around past them and I saw them. I'm like, I don't know where they're going. I just took my camera and I followed them. But the good response, the good thing was you came out and spoke to them, even though they were angry. But what is the situation of the market security? If business people feel that they cannot even lock their items in their shops, the market is being tampered every single day. And at some point they started even blaming the security because they were like, it's only the security who are here. Maybe they're conniving with the thieves. So this is something that it seems like is also a big challenge for you.
Yeah, first of all, on the demonstration, look, I'm here to serve people. I'm not here to serve myself. That's why for me, I take the office very light-hearted in a sense. I don't leave stressed out. So I feel like I have a lot to do. Yeah. But I'm not scared of any situation that comes up, or I don't leave feeling stressed out. Because whether you're angry or not, I'm here to serve you. And that's why I need to repeat that so you understand. Look, I understand what you just explain calmly. Because I'm here to serve. That's what I ran on. So when I saw them at the gate and the security was trying to bar them, I said, no, let them in.
Yeah.
This is their house. This is their council. They pay the taxes.
Yeah.
So I think they were surprised that they were let in the first place. I think that's what calmed them. They're like, oh my God, we did not think we were going in because they came for a fight. So as soon as they came in, and the second thing, they didn't know that I would address them directly.
Yeah.
They thought probably somebody else would come. But I am the one they elected. Yeah. When I was going into the market looking for their votes, I faced them directly. So when they have problems, I ought to face them directly. So I think that was what was important. But in the issue of the market, like I said, these are old problems. You know, democratic policing, like I told the security task force, is very difficult. Old problems seem to be new now because we're in a democracy. And for the first time, people are speaking up.
Yeah.
For the first time, people are demonstrating. But these are old problems. It's just that before there was always fear, etc. Now, also, another thing I would admit is security, especially markets or theft, has got worse as well. And also, democracy. The police have the same sort of police they had back then. But maybe because there was fear, thieves would fear that if they were caught, they would be made examples of, and they would not try it. So there's a lot more thieves coming out because they feel now there's a democratic society. So we need to invest in our policing. Democratic policing is a lot more expensive than policing in an autocratic regime because then people control themselves, they are afraid. Now, the market, I blame myself one. I always have to take responsibility as the mayor. But I was also disappointed because they elected councillors in the ward that could have probably got the first-hand information and done some prevention before the demonstration happened. There's also a market committee that represents vendors that should bring market issues to the council before they go out of hand. And also there's a market management that's sitting right there. So while I think demonstration should have happened at the market manager's office and not at the mayor's office. So the system failed. That's how I looked at it. So I said, okay, two things need to change. One is that we need to have a committee that is responsive to the vendors' needs. So I found out that the committee was not democratically put in place. So we decided to dissolve the Serekunda Market Committee, review their constitution, install term limits, and introduce congresses. I think 2 weeks ago, you might have been there.
Yeah.
We concluded on a Serekunda Market Congress, which was live streamed. They picked a new leader. So now that person would be respected. and that person now knows they have a term limit. If they don't serve, they would be voted out. And this is why democracy is so important. So that thing has changed. Another thing that has changed is we decided to install a lot of security measures because we realized the physical structure of the market made it easy for thieving. The gates, for example, do not reach the ceiling, so we had to reinforce the gates. We realized also that most of the thefts were happening when the electricity cuts out, when there's blackouts, and then that's why we installed solar lighting. So there's always lighting. We installed 76 lights on the building and I think 21 in the vicinity. We also called a security task force meeting, got PIU officers to mount one of their many checkpoints at the junction of the market, the main market, with 4 officers, 2 who are controlling traffic and 2 who are patrolling the market. We also changed the security guards, KM security guards that were there, which were 2 of them. We replaced them with 7. So, knock on wood, we are glad to say, since then, the market has seen our efforts, and since then, we haven't had any complaints. The last time I heard anything about theft was a thief that they caught, and not a break-in. Also, we've sensitized the vendors, because some of them were taking their own security for granted. They were having small padlocks on their doors. Sometimes there would be allocations for 3 padlocks and they would have 2 or 1. And we are telling them, look, you also need to do some self-protection and we will do the rest.
Yeah.
So there's also, we took the opportunity, why not repaint the market, install boreholes, why not just do the whole 9 yards? Everything the market needs, let's install it. And I'm glad to say now, this week we are also building the Latkumba Low Road, the road that is usually blocked.
Yeah.
We are rebuilding it. We've just paid the advance payment and the contractor is starting the build, Green Vision. I think their materials are on site today. And we are also trying to clear that place permanently. And the women would say, where do we go? We got good news for them. We're building the car park inside the market with 230 vendor spaces. It is going to be built by Finnish Profiles. We've also got 20 lights installed, and they're actually donating another borehole for the fish sellers. So we've decided to respond beyond expectation, and I think it's going well.
Definitely, especially the Latkumalo road you're saying.
Yeah.
I've seen the construction, like the work have started.
Yeah.
You've mentioned about sister cities that you've partnered with.
Yeah.
Recently, we've seen you've partnered with Madison in the US.
It's an
right?
old sister city.
Yeah. Oh, it's an old one.
Yeah.
Okay. But then, is there any best practices that you're migrating over here? Because you seem to have visited quite a lot since you.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So what practices are you
that's a good question. So, for example, you never really have experience to be a politician or go to school to be a mayor or any elected office.
Yeah.
So that's why some of these traveling is good to a certain degree. You can learn a lot of how to do things the right way. So even the issue of voting in general councils, I learned it from Madison.
Okay.
Even the seating arrangements, where directors should sit, where councillors should sit, where the mayor should sit. Also, just in general, how the services department runs things, the streets, how they do their waste collection, how they do some of their sorting. It's been a great experience. Also, even on the mapping, how do you start your mapping exercise? For them, their Capitol Hill building is the center in which they start mapping. Everything centers around, that's why they call it the city center. So when we looked through our GPS from Madison, when I was sitting there, we looked at Canifing and we said Westfield seems to be the center. It draws the entire KM to Westfield. So our mapping should start from the Westfield turntable to all parts of our municipality. So of course there's a lot we've learned. Even our landfills, although we don't have one, I've seen how the landfill actually is engineered. And for them, they're actually generating energy from their landfill. They extract the gas through a 4 megawatt generator that powers 20,000 homes in the Dane County area. So how they build the landfill, you learn a lot, but some of them are not applicable yet. But one thing we did advocate for was assistance in waste management. And you would see that yesterday, We received 1,000 bins from the city of Madison for KM schools. I just had a press conference about that. So they want to help, and they're actually sending their landfill engineer to the Gambia to look at Bakote and the new site. Okay. So we're really trying to learn from them and coordinate things.
So we just go back a little about Bakote.
Yeah.
You've talked about the don't throw it to
Yes.
the people. And I know you're a great or big advocate for youth employment.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
So these people, they've donated the 500 bins,
Yeah.
right? So how are you going to keep them employed? Are you going to be buying the
So there's a
tires
there's
from
a
them,
difference.
or how would you help them in terms of employment?
So the street bins are different from the bins Madison donated.
Yeah. I'm talking about the don't throw it, the tire ones, those people. So
Yeah,
how
so-
are you, because as I said, you're a big advocate for youth employment. So how are you helping them?
Yeah, so those don't throw dudes. They actually have a big contract.
Of 3 million.
Yeah, for those 500 bins. They're doing most of it. They've already delivered their first 50. If you go around MDI, you'd see it, and some from Kairaba Avenue in front of Alliance Franco all the way to Westfield. So I think they're starting their next 50 next week. So they've grown from 2 to 10, and they told me they would grow to 50. Also, I would try to connect them. Actually, BCC, the deputy mayor called asking. URR chairman for the Danjo call asking. So I intend to connect them with all these people because this could keep their organization running for many years. But they're also innovating. They're making flower pots out of these tires. They're making chairs. And it's great for us because we have thousands of tires in Bakote dump site, and that's the ones they're using. So when they came to us, they did not have a GPPA certificate, public procurement agency certificate. They did not have a fully completed business registration. We did all of this for them at our expense, just to encourage them. So we are really advocating for youths. Our policy is, though, we cannot force youths to do things they are not interested in. So we're taking a different approach. The average politician would say, build skill centers, build this, build that, and they will end up not being used. So we are saying, what are you already doing that we can support you in? So there's an organization called Dance Gambia.
Yes.
Yes. So they came to us yesterday and we said, well, let us know what you're doing and we'll see how we can help you. So we're trying to get them involved in our Mayor's Trophy because we have artists like ST, Big Fa, Nyancho, Jari Madi, all who've agreed to perform for free at our opening and closing ceremonies. So we're seeing how we can get some sort of paid program for Dance Gambia. We are working hard. We are not sure if we can do it, but we are seeing if we can engage them. So we are not a very rich council, but in little things we do, we can see how we can help youths. I am a youth myself, so.
Yes. So that's why we were all like, all excited.
That's why a lot of people rooted for you. But thank you very much. I think this is a very interesting and detailed.
One more question I have to ask you. I've seen on your action for education.
Yeah.
You talked about the ratio of having 70 students per teacher.
Yes.
And then you talked about how the salaries is really poor and that's not really motivating them. What are you doing, or what is the council doing to make sure that this ratio that you were talking about is actually this, it's being.
So this education thing is a very difficult thing. It's sad. I started my campaign trying to see what I could do in communities, also so I can be better known. Like you said, I was not somebody in the limelight. So one of my campaign strategies was engage in some NGO business, see how you can affect communities and make a good name for yourself. So I stumbled upon this school in Talinding, and they did not have any working toilets. And I used the time with a company called Far Limited, who had an NGO account. I said, we have kids here who need toilets. They're peeing on the wall. Sometimes they go to neighbors. They came through and we built these toilets. But then I learned a lot about what's happening in our schools. And then I realized that our average classroom size in KMC is 70 children per classroom. It's almost impossible to learn. There was another school that came to us, Latrikunda Saviji. We visited their school. The school was entirely dilapidated, same as Bundung. The roofs were all gone. So I asked what happens when it rains. They said, well, they'll huddle to a corner. There was no functioning tap in the school. There's no running water. Toilets are all broken. So what's happening? And they said, look, this free education is really a problem. Because now they have to depend on subventions from government, which is I think $100 per student every year. So if you have 3,000 students and $300,000 to manage the school, it's almost impossible. So that's something that should be reviewed. It's going to be difficult. It's politically sensitive for people going free to paying. But it's something that is definitely an emergency. So we don't control schools. We only have one school under our purview called Charles Jau, which we subvent in partnership with the Ministry of Education. But we have an education committee that is dedicated to looking at some of these problems and communicating to central government. It's not going to be an easy fix. It's something that can only change over time. But if you looked at that post, I said, for our children to compete in the global economy, we need to invest heavily in education, or we will have unprepared, unskilled, or children without knowledge, and they'll grow up, and instead of being active citizens who are assets, they become a liability. That's what we see now happening. Many children many youths are disoriented. They don't have a plan. They don't know what to do. They're able-bodied. They're young. They're wise. They have all the strength in the world, but they have no direction. So how do we fix this? It's a big question mark. I couldn't tell you. All I could say is there must be a big focus on investing in education.
You know, that brings us to the end of this interview, but I cannot go without asking this question.
Because
you just mentioned a name that clicked something far. So campaign financing. Campaign financing, especially during your campaign, a lot of people criticize you heavily because people said FAR was sponsoring your campaign, and you just mentioned how you work with them to impact lives. But then, what would be your response to say campaign financing should be very much regulated in this country? Because, for example, if big companies or industries come support somebody's presidency or their bid for becoming a mayor, of course, when they come to look for investment, when they come to your office to look for deals, you will give them some leverage over other companies. And this is what a lot of people have been fighting. And it came a lot during your campaign.
So I think there's two questions here. There's the FAR Limited issue and there's campaign financing in general. FAR Limited, when they were helping my NGO at the time called GamSense, I was not a candidate. I had interest to become a mayor, but I did not have a declared candidacy. FAR never sponsored my campaign. They helped with my NGO. So I had this NGO that was supposed to do community intervention. And like I said, it was a long-term strategy in my campaign. That I will confess. It's a long-term strategy. Get these projects going, get popularity and stuff, and then from there you can see whether you can launch your campaign or not. So that was the very early stages during my candidacy. So they had a budget to intervene in all areas as far as helping communities. This was already something they were doing. So I just leveraged on that. I said, look, I have ideas here and there and there and there, and then can you help? And they said, fine, they can help. But I feel very bad for them because then the politics got into it, and then, as you know, it's dirty. People started changing the story, started changing perceptions, etc. Now, in general, campaign financing, I don't know what the laws of other countries say. I do know there are limits to how much one entity can give a candidate. But when, in the case of our parties, I think corporations or whatnot can sponsor our parties. It's not necessarily sponsoring the candidate. And it must be, they must sponsor your ideas and not for favors. That is what the rule.
That's what's on paper.
On paper. They must sponsor the ideas of the party. So in America, for example, when businesses sponsor the Republican government, or Republican candidate, they know that that candidate will go in and advocate for free markets.
For example, the gun laws.
Exactly.
You know, the NRA will always
because
support.
Now they're supporting those candidates' views because it's good for their business. Which is, there's nothing wrong with that. But what's wrong is if you sponsor a candidate so that guy can go in office and do personal favors for you, that's wrong. Or to change that candidate's policies, that's wrong. I think that's why we said we have to do politics of issues.
Yeah.
If we do politics of issues, it will be a lot easier in Gambia. Then there's no reason to be personal about anything. You have your views, I have my views.
Yeah.
If Christians and Muslims are living in peace, people are from different perspectives are living in peace, why not political parties? It's just views.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Lord Mayor. This has been a very detailed and insightful interview.
Only any controversial question?
Talib mi ngi nekk di wax this one time legacy. So man daal I want to kind of believe. You know, like the rumor that like they're all part.
You know, these guys are UDP, they gonna future president.
Future president.
As it stands.
Future
Your
president, 100 years from now.
They said as it stands,
Yeah.
with the 2006 the amended constitution here and there, it looks like Mr. Osenadawo is not qualified. That is just being said, right? And then you are the one that he is grooming. And you keep talking about just sitting there for one time.
No, FAB pure rumors. Now, let me tell you the beauty of UDP. UDP is very rich in young candidates and young people who believe in the party. If you look at even my council, you have Kemo Boja. He's the youngest councillor and he's a huge guy who can make a whole lot of difference. You look at Yakumba Jaite. You look at Landing B. Sane of LRA. You look at Alaji S. Dabo. There's a lot of educated guys who are very principled.
The mayor, elected mayor, female mayor.
Look at Rohi Malik Law. She could be the first female president.
Yeah.
You know,
so we'll advocate for that.
So you know, I am an easy target because I barely go to the media.
I think it's because you are.
But even Rohi Law, if you follow her post, you will see future president.
Yeah.
So future president doesn't mean anything. It's sort of people view you as a leader that could potentially, and future can be 100 years or 50 years. But the missing ingredient, one, you have to be interested. Two, you have to be selected.
Are you?
I'm not.
I'm not. You're not interested in being the president?
No,
They always say
I am
that
a
until it's
male.
time to run.
They always say
I am
that.
a male.
I said now you're not.
I am not. Yes.
Anyway, it's a pleasure to have you here.
It's a
And then,
pleasure.
as I said, you are definitely, a lot of people look up to you.
Yeah.
And then the minute you throw in your heart in the political scene, I myself, I'm like,
I am already in the political.
But when you did,
Yeah,
when you did,
a lot of people are inspired.
yeah, even myself, I said, this is, you know.
Anybody can do it.
Yes, because, I mean, and then we are relating with you.
Absolutely.
And then I'll just keep saying congratulations, and
Thank
you're
you.
doing great, you're doing well. Keep pushing, because that $1 million a month, by the end, the billion, Talib, it has to come.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for granting us this interview, at least for the first time on KERR FATOU. Thank you very much for coming. I always say,
first time.
yes, for the first time. I always have to emphasize that because we do all the coverages at KMC, and this is just the first time for you coming here. But it's an honor to have you. I always tell people, I think Talib is Talib Monica, the only person working in this country, basically. I don't like to compliment politicians openly, but I think you're doing a great job, and thank you very much for granting us.
She doesn't compliment nobody.
No, I don't.
So that is definitely a big plus. Finally, Lori, what's the people of KMC?
Well, I want to start first with the people in politics. I think they should tone it down. I think they should focus on development. We are a bit away from elections. I also think that we can do our politics in a very civilized way, where we express our views and our opinions without insulting anybody, tarnishing anybody's image. And we should stop demonizing people. We should stop divisive politics, trying to create camps or trying to pin one peoples against the other. We are all Gambians. I think that's my biggest advice, is the people who are active in politics. But to the, I guess, people of KM, is that things are tough. We inherited a big problem, but like I always say, we have limited resources, but we have unlimited willpower. They should rest knowing that you have a mayor and a council, and now directors who are working very hard to change their lives on a daily basis. We just need their compliance. We just need their support. If you see a litter bin, like the man I saw in Westfield, don't throw it in the gutter, throw it in the litter bin. So they should also do their own part to make our municipality great. And to you, I thank you for your good job. Without this, our democracy will not be cemented, and we need it more than ever in this new Gambia.
Thank you very much, Lord Mayor, and definitely I want to thank the media team for putting this interview through. I want to thank Aisha and her team. They're definitely doing a great job, and we have been working with them, and definitely we really appreciate it. I would not have gotten him if it was not for Aisha. Thank you very much, and good night to you all. Bye-bye.